The Great Siege of Malta was one of the most important battles in history. This battle was the beginning of the end for the powerful Ottoman Empire. Welcome to Hidden Puzzles. The Mediterranean Sea was a battleground between powerful empires. The Western Christian nations and the Eastern Ottoman Empire were in constant conflict. This was not just a war of religion, but also a struggle for control over important trade routes. During this time, Malta was under Spanish rule and governed by the Knights of St. John. The Knights had lost their previous stronghold, Rhodes, to the Ottomans in 1522. As a result, in 1530, Emperor Charles V gave them Malta in exchange for their promise to defend the Mediterranean routes. The Knights fortified the islands, especially the city of Birgu, where they built Fort Sant'Angelo as their new headquarters. From there, they launched attacks on Ottoman ships and disrupted the expansion of the empire. Although the Knights were officially vassals of Spain, their tribute was symbolic. Every year, they had to send a falcon to the Spanish king and hold a special mass. Ottoman corsairs, especially the feared Dragut, were a major threat to Christian nations. He and the Knights were locked in constant battles. In 1551, Dragut and the Ottoman admiral attacked Malta, but withdrew after only a few days. Instead, they raided the nearby islands of Gozo, capturing thousands of people. Expecting a future invasion, the Grand Master of the Knights ordered the construction of two new forts, Fort St. Michael and Fort St. Elmo. Despite the short time available, the forts were completed in just 6 months. This decision would prove crucial during the Great Siege. By the early 1560s, the conflict between the Ottomans and the Knights was escalating. In 1560, Ottoman forces captured Spanish ships near Tripoli and took many important prisoners. The Christian forces were struggling, and it was clear that the Ottomans were preparing a major attack. On May 18, 1565, a massive Ottoman fleet arrived off the coast of Malta. The invaders had around 30,000 soldiers, including elite Janissaries, while the Knights and Maltese defenders had only about 6,000 men. Despite their strength, the Ottomans were divided. The land commander Mustafa Pasha and the naval commander Piali Pasha often disagreed on strategy. Dragut, the experienced corsair, also had his own ideas. This lack of unity led to many mistakes. The Ottomans first attacked Fort St. Elmo, the smallest but most exposed fortress. They bombarded it with their cannons for days, reducing it to ruins. However, every night, the Knights sent reinforcements across the harbor. The defenders fought bravely despite their hopeless situation. By June 23rd, the Ottomans finally captured Fort St. Elmo, but at a great cost. They lost around 5,000 men, including Dragut, who was killed by cannon fire. The Knights had sacrificed the fort, but they had delayed the Ottoman advance. To terrorize the defenders, the Ottomans decapitated the captured Knights and floated their heads across the harbor. In response, the Maltese loaded the heads of the dead Ottoman soldiers into the cannons and fired them back at the enemy camp. With Fort St. Elmo destroyed, the Ottomans turned their attention to Birgu and Sengler, the main stronghold of the Knights. The bombardment was relentless, and the Ottomans launched multiple assaults. However, the defenders fought with incredible determination, using fire, swords, and even boiling oil to repel the attacks. The siege continued for several months, with heavy losses on both sides. the Ottomans expected reinforcements from their fleets, but their supplies were running low. Meanwhile, a relief army from Sicily was preparing to arrive. In September 1565, the Sicilian reinforcements landed in Malta. The exhausted Ottoman army, realizing they could not win, decided to retreat. After 4 months of brutal fighting, the Knights and the Maltese had won the siege. The victory was celebrated across Europe as one of the greatest defenses in history. The Ottomans had lost thousands of men, and their dream of conquering Malta had failed. The Knights, though heavily weakened, had proven their resilience and secured their place in history. After the siege, the Knights built a new fortified city, Valletta, named after Grand Master Jean Parisio de Valette, the hero of the defense. Malta remained a key stronghold in the Mediterranean for centuries. The Great Siege of 1565 was not just a battle, it was a turning point. It marked the beginning of a decline of the Ottoman naval dominance and proved that a determined force, even when outnumbered, could stand against a mighty empire. Malta, once a small island, had changed the course of history.